Thomas Markle appealed to the Queen to mediate after months of radio silence from his daughter. But royal sources and former aides doubted the 92-year-old monarch would intervene and urged Prince Harry and Meghan to use their staff to try to rebuild bridges with the former Hollywood lighting director. Mr. Markle, 74, complained that he had listened to advice to stop speaking out about the fractured relationship in the hope that Meghan would then get back in touch, but he had been frozen out by his daughter and her mother. His former wife, Dora Ragland: "I've been quiet for 6 months and no one's returned anything back to me. I'm confused by it," he said. "No one said a word to me." He told Piers Morgan on ITV's Good Morning Britain that he has texted Meghan, 37, every day but has heard nothing from her. Not even a Christmas card, but hoped they would soon be talking. Morgan said he too was cut off, or ghosted, by Meghan, a former friend, when she started dating Harry. Mr. Markle agreed he had suffered the same fate as the television presenter. "Ghosted like you, yes. I'm hopeful that soon something will be resolved and we'll be talking," he added. "This can't continue forever. People are saying I should be quiet about this and not speak, that if I don't speak, they will speak to me. I don't plan to be silent for the rest of my life. I love my daughter very much and she has to know that. That hasn't happened. I would really appreciate it if she would just call me, reach out to me somehow, send me a text. Just say you're there and you're hearing me." Royal sources have acknowledged that Mr. Markle, who pulled out of walking his daughter down the aisle in May after claiming he had suffered a heart attack, will come back to haunt her at every landmark moment in her life. They accept that the American former actress, who is due to give birth to her first child in the spring, needs to re-establish ties with him. He spoke yesterday about Meghan's pregnancy and his forthcoming grandchild. "I'm certainly hoping that everything goes well and they produce a beautiful baby and I'll get to see a little Meghan or little Harry. That would be very nice and I look forward to that happening. I'm hopeful. I think it should happen. I think she'll make a great mum and maybe things will soften a little bit and we'll connect again. There has to be a place for me. I'm her father and I will be the grandfather to the children, so all I can say is that I'm here. She knows it. I've reached out to her and I need her to reach back to me. I love her very much." He insisted he was puzzled by reports that Meghan had been rude to palace staff and become distanced from the Duchess of Cambridge after some behind-the-scenes spats in the run-up to her wedding in May. "She was raised on Hollywood stages and learned to respect the crew and learned to respect everyone. I just can't see her being rude to anyone, it's not her," he said. "She's always been a very controlling person and that's part of her nature. The ghosting I don't completely understand. She's never been rude. To my knowledge she's always been in charge, that's her nature, but she's always been polite with it." In another looming PR disaster for Meghan, her father revealed that while she will have a luxury Christmas day at Sandringham with the Queen, he will be on the Mexican-US border, handing out sweets and toys to underprivileged children. "I would appreciate a card or a phone call, some sign she knows I'm here." Kensington Palace refused to discuss the rift but faced criticism from royal insiders and Princess Diana's former police bodyguard. Ken Worf: "No, I have not received a Christmas card," he added. He dismissed Mr. Markle's call for the Queen to intervene, saying she never did with Prince Charles and Diana. "It's really a matter for Meghan and Harry. Of course she isn't going to help. Where are her advisors?" he asked. He criticized Kensington Palace officials for not reaching out to Mr. Markle at home in Mexico and Harry for failing to meet his father-in-law. Joe Little, managing editor of Majesty magazine, blamed all sides. "I think they are all at fault," he said. "I think Harry and Meghan should long ago have handled this with a more magnanimous gesture. The longer it goes on, the worse it gets. They should have gone out to see him. Once hurtful things are said and positions harden, repairing of breaches can be difficult. Adele Wilde: "Reconnecting is a scary proposition." Psychotherapist Adele Wilde, reminds us that trying to reconnect with a relative can be scary. She said, estrangement causes a particular form of grief, in that hope is often held out for a reparation in the relationship, thus keeping the pain and grief active and ongoing. The reasons for estrangement are, at one level, understandable. Understandable if the view of only one party is listened to. But when the views of both sides are considered, irreconcilable differences emerge. Once hurtful things are said and positions harden. Repairing of breaches can be difficult. Fear is a major hurdle for estranged people. Fear presents as reluctance, anger, shame, avoidance, confused and uncertain boundaries, reactivity, defensiveness, running away. A research project between the University of Cambridge and the charity Stand Alone has found that estrangements from fathers are the most common and tend to last an average of almost 8 years. Comment by Ingrid Seward to Meghan Markle's admission that he has tried to contact his daughter. The Duchess of Sussex, every day strikes me as being obsessional, manic and just a bit frightening. Meghan obviously has no intention of speaking to her father and I don't blame her. Anyone who tries that obsessively to make unwelcome contact and is ignored is missing the message. Then, to compound matters, they speak to the media instead and badmouth their daughter or damn her with faint praise. It would drive the most patient person a million miles away and make anyone very angry. For whatever reason, Meghan has decided she no longer wants to speak to her dad. It is not an unwritten rule you have to speak to your family, as many people know. Sometimes it is easier and less painful to cut them out altogether, which is exactly what Meghan has done. Many years ago Princess Diana did the same thing with her mother. Frances Shankied dared to criticize her daughter's behavior after the separation from Prince Charles. The princess refused to take her mother's calls and, even more hurtful, returned her letters unopened. Diana told me, "I hate my mother. She has discussed my private situation publicly, in an interview in Hello magazine, and I will never speak to her again." Meghan, too, no longer trusts her dad. Sadly, she never did. She also feels if she texts him or calls him, details of their private conversation will be revealed to the world within minutes. You cannot blame her for this, as it has happened before. Markle has repeated private and personal details of conversations. Why didn't Meghan and Prince Harry meet up with Mr. Markle over a year ago before their engagement? He is not to be trusted, but there is a big if. Meghan must have known her father was sensitive and likely to feel left out on a limb. Now she has created a rift between them bigger than the Grand Canyon. It will take a very crafty intermediary using all their social skills to help mend this one. Or Harry and Meghan could simply fly to Mexico and bang on the door. It won't happen though, and in the meantime the fallout damage is not good for the monarchy. It is not good for Meghan and it is not good for her dad. Ingrid Seward is editor-in-chief at Majesty magazine.